think you're live.
I think I am.
Why are you doing the Jeopardy?
Why?
Yes, you're live.
I love doing the Jeopardy.
Live from Manchester, it's...
Rock, paper, hand grenades! Tonight, Josh, the Josh,
Uh-oh.
Mr.
I
Sullivan.
have no idea what's coming at me,
Sir
guys.
Josh.
Josh.
We have the Honorable Pam Tucker on the show this evening. And Pam Tucker and I had a lot of fun back in 2011. Was that the first?
We
got elected in
9,
10.
11, 13 together.
Right.
Up to 15, I quit after that.
You're smarter than me.
Well, life takes over.
Yeah, it does. You have children.
I
Those
still do.
Pesky children.
Had them and still have them.
They ruin your life.
No,
No.
they are an asset. They're the reason for being.
Oh. Have you convinced yourself of that, or
Do I sound brainwashed?
It sounds like you're still trying to convince yourself.
I love my children. I have the best family in the world, and I will debate anybody about that.
Oh yeah, I freaking love my grandkids and kids. But anyway,
it's great to see you both. Good to be on your show once again, even though we know what happened last time that you double booked me and then you kicked me out the door.
I
but
did
it's okay.
not actually kick you out the door.
He kicked me out the door.
It wasn't physical. Yes. It wasn't. I did not use any physical force.
Well, you got two witnesses.
Ouch!
Yeah.
Ouch! I still have the sore.
Wow.
It was that giant boot on your leg.
That's
right.
the
thing. He's still wearing the boot. Yeah. It's now there.
That's what happened.
Evidence. There's evidence.
There, yeah, exactly. Oh, I felt like a jerk. But it's not the first time.
No, it's quite all right. I was more than happy to make the ride back here and see all of you and talk about today's issues.
Because you're from way back east.
Oh my goodness! Like the state of New Hampshire is like the size of the state of Texas. My goodness.
Pretty much. It's pretty close.
Exactly. Driving. I live on the seacoast, and driving from Manchester to the seacoast is 45 minutes. Some people think it is a world away, and it can be.
It can be. Well, politically, it can be.
Oh no! You know what? Us in New Hampshire, we all have the good values. The live free or die motto. In fact, I had that flag hanging up in front of my house, live free or die.
So a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about, at least one of the repeating decimals, is the lies that the media is just relentless. So one thing I want to touch on, I don't want to make the show about it, but what I want to touch on is Chairman Nadler was walking to his car the other day in Washington, D.C., and a guy interviewed him and asked him about what he thought about the violence at the courthouses in Portland, Oregon. And he says, that's just a myth. That's a myth. That violence is a myth, right?
Yes, I heard that as well.
Right.
So we saw the videos, too, of them.
Well, no, before you saw the videos, yesterday the first thing he led with Barr was the violence perpetrated on the people by federal agents. So people understand. So on one hand, he said there is no violence. On the other hand, he said there's violence, but it's all by the federal agents. Mm-hmm. So if he is being honest with himself, which I doubt that he is, he would have to believe that peaceful protesters were throwing daisies at the officers and they responded with rubber bullets.
Either that or the violence perpetrated by the federal agents was a myth. I mean,
right.
Which is it?
Yeah, it's one or the other. You can't. It's not.
Not that it was, because they were just there defending.
I know. Yeah,
creating violence by any stretch of the imagination.
The mass media is trying to convince you that there is no violence. It's all BS, and the only hostility is really the federal agents. So what the truth is there are federal buildings under assault right now. They're throwing kerosene bombs.
Those are called Molotov cocktails.
Molotov cocktails and other things, trying to burn down the building with the police inside it, with the cops. They called left has called them Trump's stormtroopers and stuff like that. The fact is, they usually only require a very few amount of security in these buildings because the state or the city controls the streets. So they only need a few people. Well, all of a sudden, the city and the state are not protecting those buildings. They're not protecting the streets. So they had to call in reinforcements just to keep those buildings from being torched. And the cops are really getting hurt. There's cops that have got lasers in their eyes. They're going blind. Or they're at least still blind. I don't know if they're going to recover. Cops have been shot with pellet guns. They tried to burn them alive. And so anyway, if you really want to know what the truth is and what really is going on in this country, I hope the viewers, Democrat or Republican, take the time to watch yesterday's judiciary hearing by Chairman Nadler. It was very, very revealing because Nadler attacked Barr and then didn't give him a chance to reply. All the Democrats asked him questions but didn't give him time to respond. And the reason they did that is because these were all photo ops for all these Democrats who have a campaign this fall. That's all it was. But if you watch the whole thing, you can see what the Democrat playbook is. They're willing to allow federal buildings to be burnt to the ground with the cops in them as long as they can get Trump out of office.
And that's really sad because those cops, no matter who they are, they have families. They're somebody's son or daughter. They're probably a father or a mother. And it's terrible that there is such disregard for human life on the level of these. And these are not the peaceful protesters. Let's be honest. There are peaceful protesters out there. These are not. That has been co-opted, as you and I know, by these far left Antifa people who are taking it to the extreme and want lawlessness in our country.
Yeah, they're pushing for some sort of justification for communism.
Yeah, then we can really see what government
What
crackdown
fairness,
is.
yeah,
And dare we even have a show like this if we were communists and speak out against the government?
Well, my thing is they're complaining about these federal agents driving around in unmarked vehicles picking up the suspects that were torching the federal building. And so my thought is that if you have a problem with federal agents driving around in unmarked vehicles picking up criminals, you're really not going to like socialism. I mean, you're really thinking in the wrong direction here.
Yeah.
Right, and I understand. You know, there's a huge libertarian wing here in our state, and we know that. And of course, they're a little more anti-government. But we are a country of laws, and we do need to live by them and respect them.
Yeah, but the libertarians in the state are anti-big government, but they're not burning down courthouses. They're not trying to kill cops. So it's insane, totally insane. But really, if you're a Democrat, Republican, watch the hearings yesterday. You actually get some of the Republicans allowed Barr to answer the questions that the Democrats asked them. And it was pretty devastating. That's why you're not here probably seeing any of it on CNN today.
Well, that's why they yielded back their time as soon as they were done speaking. They wouldn't allow the witness to speak because they knew that everything they said was a bunch of poppycock.
It is, and I find it, and again, it's politics aside, Democrat, Republican, no matter where you land, you don't treat the Attorney General of the United States like that. I mean, whether you like that person or not.
Well, but you got to understand, that's not what they saw the purpose of the hearing for, right?
True.
Nadler saw that the purpose of the hearing was so that he could get to a microphone, point his finger, spew out a whole bunch of lies, and then on the evening news, when it comes to NBC, CNN, that's the clip.
That's all you see. Because
all
there
you
was
see
no one
is
speaking.
Nadler spewing garbage.
And there was no response,
But no one is going to show Attorney General Barr's response
not
because
that
it didn't happen.
Right, there wasn't one
Right.
because he was cut off and he couldn't even take a break.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Once that image is in the minds of the viewers, it's there. You cannot walk back that lie. It festers.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so I recommend the viewers really watch the entirety. And if that doesn't make up your mind for the November 3rd election, I don't think anything will.
Well, I think we need to look at this, and when you start looking at the candidates, let's take out the personalities, if you will, because there's a lot of people who have personality issues. And
Well, that's
let's-
really hurtful.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to share that with you now here. But all that being said and done, let's talk about the issues, and that's one thing that sometimes gets sidelined when we're talking politics, because it becomes all about personalities and feelings rather than what the facts really are. And if you start to take a look at the facts, like you were talking about, it's what really matters here. Our safety matters here. Our schools matter. Our economy matters. Who's going to do a better job of making that happen for us? And I think that's what the viewers and everyone needs to really ask themselves when they walk in that booth in November.
Yeah, we had a campaign meeting for the local Republicans in Ware and Deering.
Where?
Yeah,
Where?
exactly.
Where?
And one of the people said that, and it really it's very, to me, very sad that people, not all people, but a lot of people, by the time they get into the voting booth, it's an emotional decision, not a rational decision. And the thing is
That's what they're trained to do. They are told to go in there and make an emotional decision. Everything is about feelings. Everything is about whether or not someone is being treated politically correct.
right, right. So by the time they get in there, it's who they hate the least.
Yes.
You
As
know?
it always seems to be, we always hold our nose, as everyone says, during presidential elections. I'm not going to be holding mine. I'm going to charge in there and vote for who I want.
I don't know that I've ever felt that way either.
I have when I was young. When I was young, and I
Yes, when I was young, I didn't know better.
Right, I paid attention to the attack ads, and if you're only paying attention to the attack ads, then it's who's better at hating the other person is who you're going to vote against.
I've always been eager to go to the primaries because there's a field, and I'm always passionate about one or the other. And my guy has lost in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I was very passionate about Ted Cruz the last time around.
Yeah, me too.
But I didn't end up holding my nose at the final choice.
Well, some do, and mine goes way back. My guy was Rick Perry. Remember that?
Oh
8
yeah,
years
yeah,
ago?
yeah. You love.
And then he choof, crashed and burned. I mean,
Right.
What was that second question or that third thing? I mean, love the guy, but there, reasons, whatever it is, he did. He was in a lot of pain, whatever. But it's the same thing. You just got to let it go and let's move on with what we have, and make the best of it. And
Yeah, because
we need
any
to do that.
Republican choice comes with a foundational idea of smaller government and pro Second Amendment, and there's just a whole list of things that if you're voting a Republican, the odds are most of the time this is what they stand for. If you're voting for Democrats, you're voting for a list of things, and by and large, that's what they vote for.
Well, when you vote Democrat, you're voting for more government. Let's be real here. You're voting for more government to control your life.
And that's really the key, right?
That's it.
That covers darn near every issue out there is bigger government telling you and everyone else around you what to do and how much to pay for it.
Because you're a victim.
versus-
You're a victim is one of the
Exactly.
reasons, or you're not smart enough to be able to negotiate my
Right.
own wages.
We're not adults, and we're not to be treated as adults. That's exactly how that works.
Exactly. And quite honestly, the party that I'm with, the Republican Party, we want what the majority of Americans want. I want my kids to go to great schools and get the best education available out there, no matter the avenue that it does. And I think every student, no matter where they're from or what their zip code is, should have that opportunity to have the best education. I want a safe neighborhood. That's why we form governments, is to protect us. I want jobs not only for my family, but for my kids and my kids' kids. You tell me any American that doesn't want all of these things, and I want good roads. I mean, that's what the Republican Party stands for, and it stands for the individuals being able to do that rather than the government saying, like you just said, I know what's best and this is how it's going to go.
I think that's a key point that I think I've said before on the show, is if you look at socialism / communism, the focus is on the group.
Yes.
Okay, the primacy is the group itself. Our country was had, and now that's a Republican principle, but before it was Republican principle, it was a fundamental principle of the country. Was we each are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights.
Yes.
So we go from that, which we all used to, when I was going to school. You're like light years younger than me, so that's not the same. But when I was going to school, everybody agreed on that. Everybody
Yes.
agreed we are endowed by our Creator. Everybody has individual rights. The Democrats, I don't think it's necessarily the local Democrats, but at the top of the ticket, and in Washington D.C., are all about groups having rights.
Exactly. We're
And
not
that's-
individuals anymore, and that's not being taught in school anymore. You are going to school and you are being taught that you were born into this group.
Yes.
Yes.
And you should be ashamed of who you are.
Exactly.
You either should be ashamed of who you are, and if you're not ashamed of who you are, you should feel victimized by
Yes.
who you are,
Right.
which is
It's one or the other.
Yeah,
You're
you're
either
either-
you should either feel shameful or victimized, and there's no in between here.
And I think every American should be proud of who they are as an individual, as a unique individual. There's no one else in the world like you. And the things that you can do. I mean, the places you go. That's like one of my favorite books that I read to all my children.
Oh, really?
Yes,
I know.
yes.
I give that book as a high school graduation gift to everyone I go to. Every high school graduation party I go
Really?
to. So all of my kids,
I don't-
because it's all about beginnings. Where can you go now? You've
gotta
done
start.
this thing. You've got to start, and now the places you'll go. So that's a graduation gift that I give to all high school grads.
That's really cool. You guys are much nicer
I've been
than
doing
me.
it for years.
What-
I got it when I graduated high school.
Well, no, my kids are Irish, so we just saved
Oh.
up for
keg of
lawyers'
whiskey.
fees and shit.
Lawyers' fees.
So whatever, that's what we had to do.
I got The
So
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which I didn't. And honest to goodness, I never appreciated that book when I was 18 years of age. But I've read the whole series since then, and read them to my kids, and did the audios in the car and stuff. Just a fantastic.
isn't that a
series.
beautiful story?
Yeah, they should read the whole series. It's just amazing.
Yeah, but anyway, so if you look at especially, like I say, the national Democrats and the media, which are basically the same thing, they're pushing for group identity. And if you look at communism, that's what, or the way a socialist communist country takes over a country is by dividing the groups. If you look at Bosnia, that's what they did. They divided into the Muslims and the Christians, and they basically just started a general
Yeah.
conflict until they were fighting with each other, and then everything was done. Because it was a pretty good country, and people actually got along fine, except that they started this fight back and forth,
yeah.
hostility, so that your group identity became the only thing you are, which is not I think it's next week we got. Have you met Lily Tang Williams?
Yes, Lily Tang came on Conversation and Cocktails, one of our groups I do on Zoom. Yes.
Oh, yeah?
She's fantastic.
Isn't she wonderful?
Oh, she's wonderful. And you made me think of something where I saw a post on Facebook or Twitter of an Asian woman who got out of China, and she was wearing some floral dress. And how can she do that? Because back in the 1960s, they outlawed any type of Western dresses.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't be individualized. You all had to wear those ugly-ass uniforms.
Right,
Did I say
right.
that on-
Yeah, you just did. Yeah, yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, no. Yes, I didn't know that. I guess
Yeah.
she's lives in Ware, and she's the head of the Republican Deering Committee, and
She's a hot ticket. You're going to enjoy talking to her.
I
and hearing
have
her
enjoyed
story.
talking to her. I didn't realize how awesome she was until I'm very distracted very easily. And I go on Facebook and they have the videos, and they're usually only like 5-minute videos. And I'm just clicking through, and I ran into a
Shiny object.
huh?
Oop, shiny object.
Yes, exactly. And I ran into a John Stossel interview talking about the rise of communism, and she was the main guest for his show.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it was super great, and she talked about this. One reason I want to have her on, because she talked about how she was so discouraged. She was going to law, getting a law degree in China, and she realized that the law degree taught you how to protect the state. Right? So law degrees in the United States teach you how to protect the individual. Over there, it's how to protect the state. And she was very disheartened by this until she met an American, and they got to talking, and he handed her a pocket constitution. And she read the Declaration of Independence, where it says, we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. And the idea that she as a human being was born with rights, just blew her mind. It just like opened up everything, because now everything she had been taught was a lie. Because that's why it says we hold these things to be self-evident, right? Because that comment, that statement is so true. Anybody who's not completely brainwashed can read it and say, oh yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And she read it, and that was the beginning of her real freedom.
Yes.
She was in China, so she wasn't free,
Until she
but
got
all of a
out.
sudden her mind was.
What a stark contrast to what we used to learn here in this country about being an individual and individual rights, isn't it?
Yeah,
And it's amazing that they've got the whole country over there believing that.
I know. Well, the thing is,
Well, if you don't believe it, you dare not speak too.
oh no, that would be stupid.
No freedom of speech either.
No, and they got Big Brother big time.
Yeah. Let's not go there.
No, but that's the contrast between what we see going on now and what's in store for us if we don't wake up and smell the coffee and realize what we have, because our whole Constitution is based on the biblical principle that God created you, and if He created you as an individual, not as a group. Mm-hmm. And so if He created you as an individual, there must be some reason He created you, that you have purpose. There is a point to your life. I think I'll tell you that growing up, one of the saddest times of my life was when I didn't believe in God, and I was sick all the time. And if you don't believe in God and you're sick all the time, you have no purpose. But once you understand that God created you for a reason, then you have purpose. So we've taken purpose out of children's lives by extracting God from all education.
I never thought of it like that, but that does make sense.
Well, most kids, they go through high school and they're learning and they're thinking about where they're going to go to college and am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? I was, at the same time, I was so sick all the time, it was like, what's the point? If there is no God, I have no purpose at all, because I shouldn't even reproduce.
Well, I think the whole concept of what is your purpose in life,
Right.
and where does that come from?
Right.
That's a nice big broad. It's why are we here? I guess.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
We ask ourselves every morning. I mean, we could go on for hours on that one.
Right, but it is very, very important, because if we're not instilling in children that they have a purpose, God created them for a reason, then they can end up like the kids on the streets crying because they're white. I mean, it's just, they have no purpose, so they fabricate one, right? That's basically, you have, in Oregon right now, you actually have white people calling black police officers racist. They're screaming. I listened to an interview of one of the black officers who's standing there, and a young black girl came up to him and says, "What do you think about all this?" And he said, I've been here for 21 days. Every time I try to talk to somebody of color like you, a white person comes up and pulls them away.
Jeez.
Right? As soon as he finished saying it, this white person came and grabbed the black kid, a woman, and pulled her away and say, don't talk to those, and I won't say the expletives. And the woman, as she's being pulled away, said, he just said that was going to happen. And the cop is like, why is that white person
hopefully
not
she has a revelation.
Yeah, so what?
And understands what's happening now.
Oh, yeah.
Now that it's happened, and
She's
that's
been
what's happening.
co-opted, yeah.
Right. It was like the radio host who tweeted something about. It just happened again. It's happened multiple times. He was mocking Trump for sending troops into a place where there were peaceful protests. But then that evening, his apartment building got torched, and he tweets out that this is horrific and he wants to go buy a gun now. Right? It's happening over and over and over again. And until it happens to them directly, they don't understand. And I don't understand how that logic doesn't click in their heads.
Do you know that most of the people, these Black Lives protests, are actually white?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've heard that it's kind of been co-opted. And honestly, the Black Lives Matter, they do have reasons. The ones who founded
Well,
Yeah, they
I
do.
disagree.
They do.
I-
You
There are
think,
multiple groups.
right? I'm not saying where it is now. I'm saying the originally, and I can't speak for any black person. I can only speak for myself and where I live. But what it originally started as, where if you were a young black male, your chances of getting pulled over and harassed are probably much higher than the chances of me getting pulled over.
Absolutely,
and harassed. So yes, those issues do need to be addressed.
Right.
And there's no question they do have valid issues. What's going on now, where it's been co-opted and we can start burning down buildings and ripping down statues and doing whatever we want?
It's been co-opted for several years.
and
It's just
it's
very
sad.
visible right now.
Right.
See, well,
Black Lives
it's
Matter
sad.
has raised over $1 billion, and they haven't done one
Through Act
community
Blue.
cleanup. They haven't done a
Yeah.
single community cleanup with that $1 billion. They haven't put out a single scholarship for young black children going to school. They haven't. Where's that money going? Right? We can debate about where it's going. There's rumors on the internet about where all the money's going, but the bottom line is there hasn't been a single event paid for by them that has shown any type of goodwill towards any community in the country. But it's been over $1 billion that they've received.
Well, see, the thing is, I
That's fair.
draw a profound distinction between the group Black Lives Matter and what most people think of when they hear Black Lives Matter. When people hear Black Lives Matter, they think there's, like you said, there's black people that are disproportionately in difficult positions.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's like if I burn my right arm, okay? My right arm needs attention. That doesn't make it any less than my left arm. It just needs attention.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I see Black Lives Matter, the term Black Lives Matter. But when people send money, it goes to the group, the organization Black Lives Matter, and they're Marxists. They want to destroy this country. They are not altruistic group that is trying to help black people, come out from under the cloud of racism. They are a group that's trying to destroy this country.
That's my phone. I'm sorry.
Oh, it sounds good. I like that. We could keep that going. So,
No, I agree that it has been co-opted.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. But to say that there wasn't an issue there, that's I think
that's disingenuous.
yeah. We were putting our heads in the sand. So I'm glad those issues are coming to light, and because the way I look at it in life and in general is, let's just treat everyone how we want to be treated. I mean, other than how we abuse you all the time.
Right, yeah, that's different though. I deserve it, so. So Pam, you are the grand flamage of recruiting Republicans to run for office.
Yes, I am the grand for the state.
For the
offices,
state
right, which is
offices.
state representatives for us, because as many of your listeners probably know, that there are 400 state representatives. That's like the third largest English-speaking body in the world.
Right.
Right, we have the largest state legislature in the country.
Oh, without a doubt, and we get paid the least, I think, and it's
I earn every penny of it.
all $100.
Yeah.
It's really
I'm just saying.
interesting. It is kind of funny because, you know, I've gone to some national events when I was a state representative, and I talk with other state representatives, and, you know, they get paid a little bit more, you know, like maybe $5,000 or something. That, I mean, it isn't like a job you go to earn a living, thank goodness. And I tell them how much that we make and how many there are, and they're just flabbergasted. They go, well, how do you do anything? And, you know, because how do you work for $100 a year and support yourself is basically what it boils down to. And I just says it really is a volunteer job. It's a labor of love, as we know, and obviously you must really love it, Gary, because you keep going back for more.
Just masochist mostly.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
But it truly is. But the downside of it all is 400 seats across the state is a lot of people. And you have about 1/3 turnover every 2 years. So you have, you know, say you have 200 reps. About 30% of those probably are going to retire or not come back for whatever reason. So you've got to fill those seats. Plus, so you have the regular 140 or so that are still coming back. You have to go out and find people to fill all of those other 200 plus seats. It's a lot of fun. I love meeting people. I love talking to people. I love twisting arms if I need to, in all seriousness. But it is a lot of work to try and
It's
fill.
got to be a lot of work.
And it
'Cause
isn't.
we had JP retire
We
to
did.
meet that 30%. Yeah, he's one of the 3 in my district, and he retired. And we found Leah Pearl,
Yes.
who's pretty great.
Yeah, another woman. We'll talk about that in a second. But but it's a labor of love. I think anyone who does it truly enjoys what they do. And one person doesn't do the whole thing. It's not like I'm calling up 1,000 people across the state. I utilize every single person that I know in every single county, town, city, district that it takes to fill those seats. And, you know, if you know, with JP, you found somebody, and that's one of the rules as a representative. Before you quit, you need to fill your seat. So we don't have to go out and find someone for you. But it worked out well for us. We recruited almost 370 of the 400 seats. And there's a
No,
couple.
we recruited. How many were already there? How many incumbents?
You had what, 160 some that were already there.
Right.
So we actually had over 400 plus people run. We do have over 400 people running for 369 seats because there are primaries. I mean, there's, you know, there's some people who say, well, I don't think he's doing a good enough job, or I think I can do better. So they primary him, and that's fine. Primaries are a great way for the voters to decide who they want to represent them, just
Right.
like general elections are. So there's over 400 plus people running for those seats, and of them, we have 110 women who are running, which
Ooh, that's
is-
scary.
no, it isn't. This is good news.
No, well, women scare me, so that's why it's scary.
Well, you should. We know what we're talking about. And this is really good because women need a voice. The women who are running are very independent, self-made, self-motivated women who, like I just told you, all the things that we want, are going to go up there and represent their communities for those issues and not for a party. And not saying, oh, no, we're the victims. We're women, we're victims.
That's
we need
actually why I
government to do
really like
everything."
Republican. If I had any say to it, I would never let my son date a Democrat. Not because Democrats aren't pretty or intelligent. It's because of the victimhood. Republican women aren't victims. If a guy says something inappropriate to them, they'll hit him.
Well, I don't know if we resort to violence.
Oh
except maybe
yeah,
with
oh
you.
yeah.
But
Well, yeah,
no, but we'll say it. It's like, whoa, don't talk to me like that.
Right, yeah.
And we'll be upfront, and I won't pretend that I'm offended, whether I'm offended or not. I mean, obviously, some people just offend me by being in the room.
Gary.
Gary,
Wow.
I'm only
Wow.
Gary. You know, I'm only kidding you. Come on. But no, in all seriousness, we are willing to stand up for what we believe in, and we're willing to talk about it and talk about that being a mom is a good thing, and it's not something to be embarrassed of. And moms have a lot of things that they want too, and so we have moms. And I was a mom. In the
Leah Pearl in town is a mom,
Is a mom.
And a nurse.
Yeah, there's
which
quite
is
a few
actually
of
a
them.
pretty good combination for kind of a different set of eyes. You know what I mean? A different set of experiences. Because I think that's helpful. I don't believe in diversity for diversity's sake, but I do believe in diversity of ideas.
Exactly.
Which is different than Democrat diversity, which is, they believe in diversity of color and race and this and all these different groups, but they don't want any different ideas. No. You get in, if you look at the college now, the professors, if you're a conservative professor in college, you're a pariah.
Well, and diversity idea does come from people with diverse backgrounds.
Yes.
Which is going to generally lend itself to just diverse people, whatever you look like or whatever sex you are. So that in itself will happen. But yeah, I like the whole.
But it's simply not tolerated in higher education.
Well, I just want to ask you folks this. Imagine if President Trump had to choose a vice presidential candidate right now, and he says, I am going to choose my vice president candidate based upon the sex of that individual and the race that they are.
And that was something that was handed to Joe Biden. He was told early on, you have to choose a woman as a running mate.
Could you imagine
that was something
if
that was
President Trump had to
announced-
do that?
What? It was before COVID. It was in February or so. He was forced to make that pledge to choose a woman, and he still hasn't done it. It's been narrowed down.
Well, see, I don't.
But now we're seeing.
We'll do about 4, they say, but I think there's more.
I think, well, the thing is, the Democratic Party is a lot more woke than we are. So what if, let me just throw this.
Well, you gotta wake up to be woke there, Gary.
Let me throw this. Let me throw this out there, right? Why can't Joe Biden just self-identify as a trans black woman?
That would solve all of
everything
his problems.
and fix it, right?
Right.
And they're not going to.
They can self-identify as somebody who doesn't have dementia too, right?
Wow! Wow! You
I
sure
can't
you
take
wanted
this.
to come here? You're not
I
coming,
might.
right?
Excuse me, I hear my phone ringing. No, I just think it would be all over the news if the President Trump said that I'm going to pick a person of a race and a certain sex.
Oh, yeah,
He would immediately
skewered. Not even skewered.
yeah.
I'm toasted right there on the ground.
How dare you pick somebody based on those qualities? And yet,
right.
that's exactly what we're going to do on our side.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So there is a strong double standard there. I again believe in the diversity of ideas for diversity to get that, because we are a country of so many different people.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We do need to have all of those diverse ideas in order to be successful. It can't be one size fits all.
Absolutely. I mean, well, just in committee work. Okay, so I'm on the Judiciary Committee.
I'm sorry. That's a tough committee.
It is tough, but I'm on the Judiciary Committee, but the thing is we have such a diverse group of people on the committee. We have a few lawyers, which I think is good, because lawyers actually know what they're talking about. But you have rejects like...
I can debate that.
No, I mean, sometimes you need somebody to understand what this phrase means in legal terms and things like that. I think it's very helpful, but I don't think the entire committee should be dominated by them, because then you have a myopic view of what they should or shouldn't do, and their loyalty will be to the court instead of the people. So, this term we're going around. In the beginning of the legislative session, they go around and they introduce everybody, and my name's so-and-so, I was a lawyer, an attorney, and I was this, and I was a doctor, or whatever.
Right.
Joe, I hope he runs again. He was a doctor. So it gets around to me. They're all, remember, the democratically controlled committee this year.
We use Dr. Hagan?
We used to, he's not in
No,
now.
he left.
And anyway, so it comes around to me, he says, well, I've got a lot of experience with the law as a defendant.
Well, that
Of
is diverse.
Of course, no sense of humor, right?
Oh God, no, they do. They do. My chairwoman is beautiful. I got Marjorie Smith this year.
Oh yeah.
She
She's
is
fair.
fun. She totally puts up with my silliness.
Well, and that's the thing. We can't take ourselves too seriously.
No.
You know, and we got to be able to make fun of ourselves and
Absolutely.
laugh at ourselves and just being human too.
I know.
Which
That's-
it seems we've lost that as a society. We can't laugh at ourselves anymore.
See, I get along really good with the Democrats. Most of them. Some of them are pretty far out there, but it's like Paul Birch sits next to me, and he's very, very liberal, a lawyer, but he's super funny. He picks on me like all the time. Like he opens up. He been for the first few months of this year. He opens up this book, and he's got this Trump cartoon book making fun of Trump. And he opens it up just a little bit and pulls it out and makes sure I see it and then puts it back like this. Right? So then we're in executive session where you can actually have liquid on the table. And I put up a thing of Trump water,
Oh,
Trump
geez.
spring water.
I didn't know there was such a
Oh
thing.
yeah,
But
oh yeah, I got it at his hotel in Vegas.
oh,
So
okay.
I put that up there. Finally, the chairwoman said, "What are you doing?"
It's not advertising. It just is. It's
It's just, hey,
Poland
you know.
Spring or Crystal Geyser.
Then we were in Fish and Game Committee. We're in the Fish and Game Committee, and there was a bill in there to allow a reduced, I think, free hunting license for veterans that were like 70% disabled.
Yeah.
or
Oh,
whatever.
I remember that. I was in session with you and then.
No, this is this
Oh,
term.
we had one of those before.
Yeah, I know, a different one.
Oh.
So
How
anyway,
many do you need?
so
How
I
many
would-
laws do you need?
I know, right? So anyway, I was sitting next to Paul Birch in the Fish and Game Committee because we're fill-ins. And so this is one of those bills you really can't vote against, right?
Right. Or you look like a veteran hater.
Oh, yeah,
disabled
yeah.
person hater.
So,
Right.
so anyway, it goes around, and just before the vote, Paul leans over and said, "I'll give you $10 if you vote against this." Right? He's just kidding.
Right.
He's just making a joke, right? But it was quiet. Nobody heard it. So it's getting near my time to vote, and I said, "Madam Chair, I just have to confess I'm conflicted because Representative Birch just offered me $10 to vote against this." I threw him right under the bus.
But that's fun. I mean, you
Oh,
guys are
it's
just
super
messing
fun.
around.
And she was really good. She knew I was just being a jerk, so it was. So yeah, it's a great being a legislator is a really important job and really tedious, a lot of tedium, but
Yes.
you got to have fun. You got to, like you say, you can't take yourself too seriously. And there's a lot of Democrats that are pretty great people. I just disagree with them on everything.
Right. We can agree to disagree on the issues, but that doesn't make either one of us a horrible person.
Well, it makes me a horrible person, but not them.
No.
But yeah.
In neither case. And I mean, let's be honest, we don't agree with everyone in our own party, whether it's the President of the United States, whether it's Governor Sununu. No one agrees 100% with you. I mean, we all have
But
our
they
own
should.
views. Oh, that's right. You're right on every issue.
Did
I
you- did-
forgot.
Yeah, so were you, you went with us for that bus ride to Canada, right?
Yes, where we all had to get on the other
Okay,
side
so
of the
I
bus.
gotta tell you the deep dark secret my wife said, right? So anyway, Pam, myself, and I don't know, 40, 30,
Yeah, probably 20 to 30. I don't
Okay,
think
say
it's that
30.
many.
30 Republicans and a couple of token Democrats went to Canada at the expense of the Canadian government.
To learn about
Northern Pass and some other stuff.
it was Northern Pass and learn about how they're damming up things and killing salmon too.
Yeah,
That
killing
was the other
salmon.
side of it.
and using
I like
defoliant
salmon,
and using
but they have
defoliants.
to be dead in order for me to like
Right,
them.
I know.
If they can't go back upstream because it's dammed, then they're dead, and then you're not going to have any salmon.
So
Anyhow,
so anyway, amongst all the silly things that happened, besides the bus ride, which was pretty entertaining, we remember that the night, one of the first nights there, we all went out to eat at that nice restaurant.
yeah, that big group dinner with
Yeah. What blew my wife away, because I was sitting, I forget who, well, I think Pete Silva was sitting at the table, Al, and Judy, obviously, and a bunch of other people. And what blew her away was how diverse the opinions were.
Yes.
She assumed that everybody else thought like I did, right? Which is,
That's a good joke.
I know, right? But so she's sitting at this table, and we're hearing the arguments back and forth
Yes.
on I don't know how many different subjects. She was very pleasantly surprised that there was so much diversity, even in the leadership of the Republican Party. You know, because like you say, we don't all agree on everything.
Well, it's very true, and I'm sure you and your wife don't agree on every single issue. My husband and I, we can get into some good debates about certain issues, and we just go through it, and we might never agree,
Right.
and it's okay. We we have to just agree to
It's
disagree.
not okay if you're a Democrat.
No.
You have a list of viewpoints that you either have or you're a pariah.
Well, the way we look at it is both of us will just agree that the other person is wrong. That's
So what's now? How do you filter out if you're recruiting all this people? I've been up there when people have been recruited that were maybe not necessarily a great idea. I think John Alseer from Nashua was a good example.
right. We try and
How do
make
you filter
sure-
those out? Because some people shouldn't get that.
Well, that's the thing with being a citizen legislature. You're going to get all kinds from everywhere. There is no cookie cutter mold, as you know, for being a state representative. So yeah, you're going to get people who are going to have very, very diverse points of view, as in the case of that gentleman down in Nashua. I think that was before my time.
That was before your time. That was, I
But-
think, my second term.
I heard about that, and so we tried to do a little bit of background checking on people, make sure that they're not absolutely crazy out there, and that
What
they're-
happened with Gary?
Yeah, that was.
Well-
She wasn't in charge of filtering back
Oh.
then.
He
Got
got
it.
in before the internet.
Got it.
No,
Oh.
Gary's a great guy. He's a fun voice to have up there. You were definitely fun to work with, and kept things light even in times when it could get pretty heated. And you just gotta take a breath and step back and say, okay, we're still all humans, and we can still treat each other with respect.
Yeah,
And I appreciate that about you.
yeah. Never mind. Mask. I love your mask. Show him your mask.
My mask. Oh, my handy dandy. All right, I'm a sewer. I like to create things. Whether it's playing a musical instrument or whatever. And so, I can't wear the blue mask. I just can't. It's just a fashion faux pas for me. I'm making fun of myself here, okay? Let's bear with me, fashion faux pas. So I says, well, I've got to do something. And so I was looking around online, and it says, you can make a mask that's a fashion accessory. I says, okay, let's do it. So I got the little pattern, easy enough to do. And it has two little handy dandy things that you can just take, you put up over your ears, and voila, I'm ready to go to Market Basket, Target, Walmart, you name it.
No. You look like you're ready to rob a train.
If it was black, yes, but no. And then it goes back to,
That was mean. I like that. I really like that. That was a
I
good one.
resent that.
I thought you said you said you looked like not a chic.
A chicess.
Chicess.
I made
yes.
up that word,
Yeah,
yes.
that
There's
was a good
chics and
word.
chicesses.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's actually pretty good. I got this. I guess. So I got this from some ladies sewing them. I got one from my neighbor. Two from my neighbor. She's really really great. But I got this one up at the pharmacy. There's some lady who's sewing a whole bunch and for donations.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
pay for the cost of the things. I've
Right.
made so many
really
for
see that.
mask makers.
But I don't know if you can
Those are
see it on the
American
camera.
flags.
But those are American flags, and
Yeah.
it's
Right.
pretty offensive to some people.
Oh, look at yours is nice too.
My daughter's boss sewed this one. They sewed a whole bunch of them, so I got the
Whoa.
red, white, and blue stars.
I like those. Well, I did because we had nothing to do while we were locked down in COVID. I actually had a bunch of elastic before it went out of stock everywhere, and I sold I don't know, probably 2 or 3 dozen masks it was called Seacoast Mask Makers, and I gave them to a friend of mine who works at CMC, and she brought them in for everybody. I still make them now and then for people. Like I made a bunch of these.
Yeah, well, the ladies at church were making ones like this, and it's kind of cool because we're they made a whole bunch of them, and they were giving them out at church. At first, they left them outside because they're church ladies, so they don't realize, and so people would just come up and grab a bunch of them. And so
They believe
eventually
people are honest.
they just trusted people, and I
should.
told them right off the bat when I saw it, I said, those are going to
Just gonna
disappear.
disappear.
Yeah.
And so eventually it actually became better because people would have to knock and kind of come inside during office hours. So it was a way to evangelize a little bit to the neighbors and give away free mass. So
Oh, good.
there's a lot of cool stuff people have been doing during the COVID-19 things to
Yeah.
help neighbors and stuff like that. That
Yeah. I
the
did some of
news
that.
kind of blurs everything out.
Well, it does. And so when it first started out, another thing that I did with a friend of mine is the Flag Hill Winery over in Lee. He does make spirits. He makes like some alcohol, I don't know, vodka, rum maybe. And he converted it over to making hand sanitizer because it's just alcohol. And so I was given a list, and he had, curious, like cases of it. And I was given a list and filled up the trunk of my car and went to like all over Rockingham County and delivered them to the police and fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right in the early parts of it. Yeah, it was
Oh,
just,
that's wicked cool. So
it was just
now,
a nice thing to do. And I don't know, you don't do it for publicity. You do it for the right reasons.
no, I always do everything for the really just for if I don't get anything out of it, there's just no point. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or why?
Yeah,
Why
you're
would
always
you do
out
that?
there pushing people out of the camera.
I wonder why
next to you.
people pick on you, Gary. I wonder.
His hand is in your face. Get out of the way.
Yeah. But now, how did they convert from? Because that's different kind of alcohol, is it?
No,
you're
no,
talking
no,
to the wrong person.
It
Alcohol's-
actually is. So there's
Isopropyl alcohol.
isopropyl alcohol. That's the
rubbing alcohol.
rubbing alcohol
Right.
that you buy in a store, and it comes in it's like 50% alcohol.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that's dangerous to you. I mean, if you're
Yeah, I used to drink it, but not that much.
Now we
but
know.
the ethanol, the is it ethanol? Yeah, I think it's ethanol.
Ethyl.
Ethyl alcohol. Yeah. So basically, he just instead of stopping the distilling process at one point, they just continue to keep refining it until it's more pure.
Oh, is that how they do?
I mean,
had
that's
no idea.
it's a facility that creates alcohol to begin with, right? And all he's doing is just refining it even further so that it can be used as sanitizer.
Yeah, it's like big kudos to him for doing that at no
What's
cost.
the name of the company?
It was Flag Hill Distillery out in Lee. New
How are they
Hampshire.
doing now?
I have no idea. I did find a rosé that was pretty good, and I don't drink rosé. It was pretty good.
No, they definitely found a way to stay alive
did.
during the
Yeah, he
during
did.
the
He did a
shutdown,
good
which
job.
is which is
kudos
great.
to him because.
And
he
we've
didn't
mentioned this
charge anyone.
before.
Yeah.
There's a lot of businesses, local businesses that just, instead of rolling over and having to shut down because they couldn't do anything, they converted. Right? There's manufacturing
Right.
facilities that have switched over to making masks and stuff. And
Well, the
and
thing is,
Flag
somebody
Hill-
like-
and it's not the only one. There's multiple distilleries in the state have.
Yeah, but
Have
see,
done that.
have
Exactly.
done
That was
this.
just
Yeah.
my personal
Yeah.
anecdotal experience.
Experiment.
In fact, I have some Flag Hill hand sanitizer at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
so
the
it's
but
good.
the thing is, he didn't have to do that. He is one of the quote unquote essential businesses, so he could have just kept producing wine or whatever he's producing.
Mm-hmm.
He had to go out of his way to revamp everything to make that stuff. So that's actually really cool
Yes,
because it wasn't like a company that was out of business because of COVID. It was a company that could have stayed in business.
It was one of those situations where I read the story on it where really he had everything in place, and all he really needed to do was to add this one ingredient.
But it was just some
and
sort of stabilizer, the
it's
cream.
the glycerin, the
glycerin, is that
gel,
what it- yeah.
right? So, and so that's all he really had to do, and he realized that okay, there's a shortage and a need, and I have the ability to do this, with a day's worth of shutdown in order to retool, right? Everything was in place.
That's
Good
pretty
for
great.
him. Good, and I know others have done it, and God bless them for doing that and helping out our first responders at that time because we didn't know, and then again we had shortages across the board of everything.
So, Pam, we're almost out of
So,
time,
Gary.
and I love you. So, how can people get in touch with you to help
to help and get involved.
To help and get, because right now, I'll tell the viewers, like in Ware, I'm gimpy, I need to put up signs. I would love if people in town would say, hey, I get a great spot, give me, I'll meet you at Dunkin' Donuts and I'll grab a couple of your signs. Stuff like that. How can they get in touch with you? Because there's people all over the state, because people might not understand, but as a legislator, I don't have hardly any money. I don't get like hundreds of thousands of dollars that I can pay people to do stuff. I have a very limited amount of funds, and most of the campaigning is done by me. And how can people get involved and help those Republicans get elected so we can turn the House back over to the big R?
The big R. Well, we want to keep our state free, and we want to keep the live free or die motto, and we want to keep the New Hampshire advantage. The best way locally to find out who's running, you can contact us up at info@nhgop.org, and we'll get back to you. Or my personal email up there is vicechair@nhgop.org. And I respond to every email I get, and I'll try and direct you in the right direction of where you are, who's running, because we also have state senate seats, we have executive council seats, there's tons of county seats out there, your registry of deeds and all of those, and county sheriffs. So there's many, many things that you can do to help get involved. Either it's putting out signs for you, or
mainly just put out signs for me. So actually,
and vote for you.
Yeah, vote for me.
Always ask for the vote.
Yeah, absentee if you don't live in town. So
we know you're kidding.
We'll bus them in.
we'll bus them in. We'll bus them in.
From Massachusetts.
I'm glad you're joking.
Oh.
No, she's hoping you're joking.
You're hoping I'm joking. Yes, exactly. Pam Tucker, I love you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you both
Josh,
for having me.
You're all right.
Thanks.
Hey, we'll see you guys next week.